Good afternoon, you're watching the Media News. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. The top stories on our desk this afternoon: thieves raid former President Edgar Lungu's house, stealing 2 television sets. Bus drivers give conditions to comply with new bus fares.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Television, not just another channel.
The Media News in detail. Chilanga Ward Development Committee Chairperson Lucky Vene says the vastness of some constituencies will make it difficult to solve the unemployment challenges using the Constituency Development Fund. In an interview, Mr. Vene has cited Chilanga constituency of being extremely vast constituency of 12 wards, which has seen some cooperatives receiving as little as 5,000 kwacha for empowerment. Meanwhile, in a separate interview, Zambia Savings and Credit Cooperatives Limited project coordinator Adam Mwanza has urged civic leaders to encourage their community members to take advantage of other empowerment initiatives in the country.
Statistics from the International Labour Organization ILO indicate that spaces in the formal job market in Zambia have continued shrinking over the years, resulting in thousands of people graduating every year, but with only few ever making it into formal employment. This resulted in an unemployment crisis in the country, as most graduates, including other citizens in the informal sector, were struggling to find meaningful capital to start economic ventures of their own. It was in this vein that the current administration provided for the funding of cooperatives with promising ideas under the 25.7 million kwacha Constituency Development Fund CDF to elevate citizens out of poverty. Chilanga Ward Development Committee Chairperson Lucky Vene, however, feels that stakeholders should start considering the topic of delimiting some constituencies which are too vast, failure to which funding of cooperatives under CDF will not serve its intended purpose. In an interview, Mr. Vene explains that the case of Chilanga paints a true picture of this crisis, stating that the constituency has 12 wards, which has left some cooperatives being funded with only 5,000 kwacha.
So when we divide 470,000 by 12 wards, we actually get 40,000 for each ward. Now 40,000 for each ward, because most of all these cooperatives and clubs, they are applying for the maximum 40,000. It means we can only give one club or one cooperative. So this cannot continue. This is going to cause a lot of havoc in communities.
In a separate interview, Zambia Savings Credit and Union Cooperatives Limited project coordinator Adam Mwanza feels that other empowerment initiatives like those under the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises Development need to be fully utilized as an alternative.
Either the government funds you as a cooperative or not, we should be able to deliver. How? By bringing resources together. So one thing, the success of the cooperative is realizing that as you come on in terms of joining a cooperative, what are you bringing on board? Either you bring your skill, either you bring your resource, but you must contribute something for a success of a cooperative. He adds that if these alternatives are not fully utilized, competition for funding under CDF will be lessened. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, CCPC, has opposed calls by the Zambia National Farmers Union for farmers to refrain from dumping fresh vegetables on the market. CCPC Public Relations Officer Renford Mutabi says calls says the call is an affront to limiting access to market to various farmers that are producing the scale, and says it is also against the spirit of competition promotion. Meanwhile, the National Association for Small-Scale Farmers in Zambia Executive Director Frank Kayula says there is need to educate farmers on how to handle the market so that fresh produce do not go to waste as the current situation.
According to a statement issued 6th August 2022 by the Zambia National Farmers Union, ZNFU, it expressed concerns with the dumping of several fresh commodities such as cabbages and tomatoes on the market, stating that the oversupply is causing significant drop in commodity prices on the market. The statement that has caught a lot of attention, including that of His Excellency, the Republican President of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, who posted on his Facebook page, and I quote, "It makes a sad reading to us who have been working tirelessly to unlock both local and international markets for our produce through the various MOUs we have signed. Our agriculture produce must not go to waste." It is for this reason the National Association for Small-Scale Farmers, NASFA, Executive Director Frank Kayula, says there is need to educate farmers on how to handle the market if dumping is to be controlled.
The President has done so well in alluring customers for Zambian products and the like, but that's at presidential level. We need to get down to the ministry level, and the ministry level needs to get down because at the ministry there is nothing that is produced there. At farmer organization level, even at farmer organization level, we don't produce, it's our members who are producing. We need now to agree, how are we going to capture that market that the president is talking about?
And a small-scale farmer, Jackson Banda, who was found offloading his tomatoes earlier in the day at Lusaka's BH market, says there's nothing that can be done to control dumping when tomatoes are in season.
Ivo tomato vamene vakambati kuti ni time yakaina si muntu amene alengesa ni season yakaina chapa ni time yakaina kulipa pamene tingachiti.
At BH Market also tells this reporter that farmer unions and the government should put in measures to control how much fresh produce comes into the markets.
Motoka kangono tena abwera kuti ambe ogulisa mateni kwacha 10 kwacha nishi eva panga losi maningi achiri wakuli commercial farm kai commercial farm eva azaleta pena ku 20 vehicles per market ola agulisa 10 kwacha eva at least kuli bechani kuli belosi maningi so benzo bafyantirira so tenzo pempa kwa chape kuli baku farmers union kuti kapena wanga kambireko kuli bamonga bacha ma commercial farmers yoti bali na mapolimira pakulu na vose benzesa monga ma pivot chani kuti babasakililolo bambolimolo monga ma wheat so babasakilako na business.
Meanwhile, the Competition Consumer Protection Commission CCPC Public Relations Manager Renford Mutambi, in a statement issued Tuesday, says the statement by ZNFU goes against the spirit of competition promotion and has urged farmers to continue supplying the markets with fresh produce and expand their production.
As the Commission would like to encourage the farmers to continue supplying the markets with the best they can and to expand production through value addition and market linkages, more so with the SMEs.
Cherish Sibote, reporting for Camnet TV in Lusaka.
Minister of Green Economy and Environment Collins Nzovu has challenged the private sector to effectively participate in driving the agenda of green economy and resilient climate change actions. Speaking when he launched an electric vehicle by the Catholic Relief Services CRS in Lusaka Tuesday, Mr. Nzovu says such initiatives should be supported as they aim at supporting government's commitment of transitioning to green economy through the use of climate-smart actions on the environment. Meanwhile, an environmental expert, David Shpoloka, has hailed the introduction of electric vehicles as this will help the country accomplish the goal of reducing dangerous gas emissions in the country by the year 2025.
Various calls to create climate-smart and resilient actions on the environment has been loud as the effects of climate change seem to take its toll on many Zambians. And government in that regard has been searching for new and better ways of managing the country's resources and methods of sustaining the economy by the country without it having to aggressively and negatively impact on the environment. And whilst at the launch for the electric vehicles by the Catholic Relief Services, CRS, the minister in charge with green economy and environment, Collins Nzovu, is delighted that such initiatives have reached Zambian borders as they are in line and have come to support government's commitment of creating a green economy and a more resilient climate change. Speaking at the same launch, Mr. Nzovu has challenged the private sector to take advantage of this introduction as a means that can spur job creation and sustainability in the economy.
And on the measures we are putting in place to promote the move to the use of electric vehicles in Zambia. Firstly, the electric vehicles are responsible for considerably lower greenhouse gas emissions over their lifetime than conventional internal combustion engine vehicles. This entails that the increased use of electric vehicles will lead to reduction in Zambia's greenhouse gas emissions and contribute to the attainment of our emission reduction ambition articulated in our nationally determined contribution to the Paris Accord. I think this spurs the development of the electric vehicles industry in Zambia and create thousands of jobs. When we say the government means well for this country, this is what we mean. And by the way, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that MOU is not these MOUs you sign and forget. In the background, as a ministry, for example, I'll tell you as a Minister of Green Economy and Environment, we are already doing an EIA on the 200 hectares which government has set aside.
Meanwhile, an environment expert, David Chapoloko, has hailed the introduction of electric vehicles in the country, saying it will go a long way championing climate-resilient actions on the environment, and also stating that, if well managed and sustained, it will effectively contribute to the reduction of dangerous gas emissions on the environment by 2025.
Would be able to achieve this is by exploring alternatives. For instance, first we have to look at where do the emissions come from. And you will recall with me that most of the emissions are coming from industries, vehicles. The land is the second emitter of greenhouse gases. So how do we cut on those emissions? The first thing is, if you've heard, there is electric cars that have been introduced. So that's one of the alternatives that we can explore when it comes to emission coming from the transport and communication. And also, it's also about, we have government pushing for the climate bill, which some of the things that will be in that bill, which is yet to be taken to Parliament, is to introduce some of the measures in which we are going to limit these industries which are doing tremendous emissions to the environment.
Message Janika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
The state witness has told the Lusaka Magistrate Court that he got the shock of his life when the Anti-Corruption Commission officers informed him that his company, Frontier Management Services Limited, acquired land in Ndola on the Copperbelt. Frontier Management Services Limited Director Eddie Sinyangwe testified before Magistrate Hamaundu that their company, since its incorporation, has never done any business nor generated any income for it to acquire property in the said area. Mr. Sinyangwe was testifying in a case in which former Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo is alleged to have acquired land in their company's name and services, which property was conveyed to Jiangxi Song at the consideration of 880 for his own benefit.
Trial has continued in the alleged corruption case that former Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo and his wife, Nancy Manasseh Lusambo, have been accused of. The state accuses the couple of 10 different corruption-related charges, among them corrupt acquiring a public property, being in possession of property suspected of being proceeds of crime, tax invention and conspiracy to defraud, which the defense team strongly argue of their client committing such an offense. In the first count, allegations are that Mr. Lusambo on the 10th of May 2015 and the 31st of December 2021 on the Copperbelt in Ndola, whilst acting together with other persons unknown, unlawfully acquired property number L/39876 M in the name of Frontier Management Service Limited, which was later conveyed to Ganesh Son at a consideration of 880,000 kwacha for his own benefit. The state Tuesday morning called 2 witnesses on stand, the first witness being Eddie Sinyangwe, one of the directors at Frontier Management Service Limited, who in his testimony said since their company was incorporated and turned into a business, it has never done any business nor generated any income to acquire property. In his further testimony, Mr. Sinyangwe testified that he got shocked when he received a call from Anti-Corruption Commission officers and learned that his company, Frontier Management Service Limited, acquired a property number L/39786/M when the said company has not been functional. And another witness, Sakwila Sinyangwe, one of Frontier Management Service Limited director, narrated before Lusaka Magistrate Friday Samaundu that just like his elder brother, the first witness, he was surprised too when he was informed this year by SEC officers that their company owned a land in Dola, and the officers wanted to acquire more information about the same. Meanwhile, yesterday one of the witnesses testified that during the time the accused person, Mr. Lusambo, was Copperbelt Provincial Minister, he gave him an application of a company called Frontier Management Service Limited, which he had told him that the said company was interested to acquire land. In this case, Mr. Lusambo is facing all the 10 corruption charges, while his wife, Nancy Manasseh Lusambo, is slapped with only 4 counts. In the other counts, the couple is accused of being in possession of different properties which are linked of being proceeds of crime. The duo are being tried under the Specialized Economic Financial Crimes Court, and so far only 5 witnesses have testified in the case. The matter stands adjourned until the 26th of September 2022. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Zambia police has recorded a case of breaking into a building and committing a felony which occurred at the former Republican president's residence, EDGAR Lungu. According to a report filed to the police, unknown people broke into the house and stole 2 Samsung television sets valued at 66,000 kwacha. Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga confirmed this development to Camnet TV. But Patriotic Front chairperson for Information and Publicity, Raphael Nakachinda, has blamed the state for not providing enough security.
Zambia's former Republican President Edgar Lungu has been at the center of public debates, with the recent one being the outburst over the purported maneuvers by the state to get to him through his family in the ongoing anti-corruption crusade, where he indicated his willingness to forgo his immunity to clear his name. And earlier this month, he launched the Edgar Lungu Foundation. However, on the 9th of August 2022, Zambians were treated to an unusual scenario where thieves broke into the residence of the former head of state between 01 and 06 hours during a power outage. Zambia police spokesperson Ray Hamonga confirmed the development to Camnet TV News that thieves went away with 2 television sets.
Brief facts of the matter are that a report was received from male Mayondi, age 42, of Kawata Site and Service, attached under protective unit to the former president's residence, and on behalf of the family, that unknown people broke into the house and stole 2 Samsung television sets valued at 66,000 kwacha. Entry and exit was gained through cutting electrical wire fence behind and climbed the wall fence, broke the main door and stole the items. This occurred on the 9th of August 2022 between 01 hours and 06 hours, which was the time of discovery by domestic workers of 2nd Street in Ibex Hill.
But PF chairperson for Information and Publicity, Raphael Nakachinda, has blamed the state for not providing enough security personnel to the former head of state, claiming that the former president has been left with 2 officers who, according to him, are not adequate.
We had what we consider ourselves as suspect to have been a well-orchestrated operation. First of all, ZESCO conveniently switched off power around 01 o'clock, around that time. And evidence, preliminary inquiries suggest that that was the time that those who broke in tampered with the electric wire and had access to the house, and the way they opened secured the doors also showed that it was a professional job done. And of course they walked away with 2 television sets. The way they plucked the television sets out, it shows that it was purely an excuse, because it was done like somebody who just picked things that belongs to them.
He feels the motive could be beyond stealing television sets.
Our suspicion is that their mission is beyond televisions. We, of course, suspect that they could have come to plant some things. They could have come to tamper with some things. And possibly they were on a mission to really do something extraordinary. But by God's grace, no life has been lost. But I think it is important for us to put it on record that this is an indictment against President Hakainde Hichilema, against Home Affairs Minister Jack Mwimbu. Is an indictment against the IG. It's also an indictment against the office of the president, the OP, Director General, because he is responsible towards the office of the president. And when we say the office of the president, implies the president who is currently in office, the former president, and to an extent vice president, because these are people who have served in the highest office of the land.
Patrick Soko, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Bus drivers at Kolimata bus station in Lusaka have agreed to comply with the newly introduced bus fares by the Road Transport and Safety Agency, RTSA, on condition that a new bus fare chart is released. Speaking to Camnet News, the bus drivers have urged RTSA to produce a new fare chart, stating that other routes the drivers use are not gazetted by RTSA and Lusaka City Council. The drivers have since called on local authorities to also reduce the load charge in bus stations from 45 kwacha to 25 kwacha.
Since the reduction of bus fares by the Road Transport and Safety Agency, RATSA, on Saturday, August 6th, 2022, following a drop in the fuel pump prices as announced by the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, wrangles between bus drivers, conductors and their passengers have been the order of the day, as bus operators have refused to follow the new bus fares, stating that the new fares are not cost reflective to their business.
No problem. Let's go to police. Let's go to police. Simple as that. Yes, let's go to police.
Stakeholders have come out strong on the matter, urging the drivers to comply, but to no avail. But after warnings issued yesterday by Transport and Logistics Minister Frank Tayali, stating that operators that will not implement the new bus fares risk having their road service licenses revoked. This has compelled some bus drivers at Lusaka's Kolimata bus station who have agreed to follow the new bus fares if the fare charts are given to them.
Wachosera fare chart. Hasa panga pale kuvutana between conductor na passengers. Mwaona. So fare chart gangalamo ila ndiza passengers zao na old fares ni haya, ma new fares ni haya. 3 nyakatipemba kwa ma bosses. I know mumvera ma bosses wena ma bus. Bus yanu kutinga lemushi. Maona mwachosera ko so hapa. Na makashini chosele nkoni. Mwaona. Chwanga tumzafu maintenance manager driver ise tima sevenza manje na panic. Bus is free konga 2 years yanu izanga 6 months. Kama mfuna kashini anje high cashing.
The bus drivers are calling on RATSA and Lusaka City Council to redo the Lusaka route list, stating that there are routes that the drivers operate from that are not on the route list as they print the new fare chart.
Tichirumburu roti, Bama roti, Karingaringa mtendere, Chosla Gondeo, Riranda Matero, Critisto, ndiye maruti amene vaziva. But kuli maruti akwana tolo even boma kuendako. Izada kwati nikuti kuno. Wait. Even kuendako government izada kwati. Nanga kuno nikuti but within Lusaka. So pamene pafaka mafea chat. Wazichita assess kupita. Not kungo puliki na chat tachosako. Wazachosako no tulete na chongo kuna kwa titandiza abantu.
The bus drivers are appealing to Lusaka City Council to reduce the bus loading charge in the bus station from 45 kwacha per trip to 25 kwacha to harmonize business for the bus drivers.
Of course, in 216, but in the change go come, 5 liters of which 120. 120 sasa zinga 96 kwacha. So 96 kwacha then boya foot again when they foot again na gas 45 kwacha. So ngati matibazira isa drivers ma fares stickers zavo me abanesi mtuvozeko kaso babo 25 kwa 20 kwa sawa artist zikaba sako bisimbabene bakhe zikashinga monga ba toilet bazibozeko na kweve kai kuse muno na kutsenzera muno toilet tilipira maza mune tilipira amanya 96 kwa chame zamu kwanza bwanyi so boma tianganyireko.
Cherish Sibote reporting for Camnet News, Lusaka.
That's all we had for you on the lunchtime news. The headlines once again. Thieves raid former President Edgar Lungu's house, stealing 2 television sets. Bus drivers give conditions to comply with new bus fares. Thank you so much for watching Camnet TV. Join us again for our main news at 19:30. Good afternoon.